Is this lens really worth $1,750 more than this lens just because this is an f1.2 and this is an f1.8? That's what we're going to figure out in today's video. I kind of think it's going to be a bit closer than you think, and it might be hard to tell the difference, but let's find out. Right, what is next? Oh yeah. Hey Siri, in a couple of hours, set me a reminder to let everybody know this video is sponsored by Epidemic Sound. They can get their first 30 days free if they click the link down below.
Okay, added to today's reminders.
Thank you. Right, so to make this test as fair as possible, I'm going to mount both cameras to this bracket, which allows me to mount two cameras at the same time to one tripod. Just makes it a little bit fairer. Okay, attach that to that. In a second. That's really weird. Alexa, turn on studio. Where'd it go? What? Alright. That is a bit strange. It's just gone. Okay. No one ever rings that doorbell. Okay. I don't remember ordering anything, but let's see what we got.
Chris, consider this a warning. Next time don't use that for reminders. I can do them too.
If you're still here now, thank you for watching that. I want you to truthfully answer me something and put a comment down below. If there was a point during what you just watched, you thought, you know what, this is shot with two different lenses and it's obvious. And if that's the case, timestamp below when you thought that happened and why. Because that whole thing was shot with both of these lenses. And if we look at my timeline, you'll see I actually have two shots of every single shot. One with each lens. I basically wanted to show you that it doesn't really matter in some situations. You aren't going to be able to tell the difference. But before we do that, I want to chat about today's sponsor, which is Epidemic Sound. Now, if you click the link down below, you will get your first 30 days free of Epidemic Sound. And you might be thinking, well, why do I want that? Now, if you're watching this video, you are probably a video creator yourself. You're either doing work for yourself or you're doing work for other people. There's both personal plans and commercial plans. And if you get one of the commercial plans, you can clear all of your clients' work as well. So they can post it anywhere they want. They can send you the link. You can clear it in your Epidemic account. That's a huge thing that you can tell your clients when you are positioning yourself as a creator to them. Now, when I was actually trying to find music for that piece I put at the beginning, I didn't really know what I wanted. So I just started searching mysterious. And I went through a bunch of tracks and I found one that reminded me of Breaking Bad, strangely enough. I was a massive Breaking Bad fan. Now, there was a bass line in the song which I didn't really love. It didn't go with the vibe that I wanted. So what I ended up doing was just downloaded the stems, which is all the separate parts of that track, and I just removed the bit I didn't like and was able to use the rest of the song, and it worked perfectly. One of the other really useful things about Epidemic Sound is just the way it learns the kind of music that I like to use. So if you've been doing a bunch of real estate work recently, like I have been using a specific kind of tracks, it will just feed you some of those tracks and you have to go and search for one. Just saves you some time, which time is money. So Epidemic Sound, just fantastic for any musical or sound related needs that you have for any of your videos, client videos. If you click the link down below, you can try out your first 30 days free and experience everything I've just told you about. Try it out for yourself. Even after the 30 days, a commercial plan works out to be 25 bucks a month and a personal plan for your own stuff, 12 bucks a month. Thank you, Epidemic Sound, for sponsoring today's video. Now, because we have two shots of everything I shot, one with each lens, it gave me options when it came to the edit, and that was actually pretty useful because there was a couple of times where there were some technical issues, which I will show you in a second, but it allowed me to have a backup shot or a safety shot that I could use, which you typically wouldn't have, but, well, I'll show you what I mean. Now, as an example right here, the A7S is the 50mm F1.2. It was wide open at 1.2, and the FX3 was the 50mm F1.8 wide open at 1.8. If we look at the A7S III with the 1.2 wide open, you see it actually missed focus on the box and my feet were in focus instead. Don't know why that is, probably to do with the razor thin depth of field that we had at 1.2. But if we look at the F1.8 shot, it nailed focus, no problem. So I used the 50mm F1.8. But then when I flip back to that shot after there's been a shot of me, you'll actually see that I ended up using not the focus, the box being in focus shot, but the other shot, because if we look at the 50mm F1.8, look what happens. You see how the focus jumps back? It's a little bit jarring. So I didn't like that shot. So I ended up using the 50mm F1.2 where my feet were in focus because it's a lot less distracting. Now, to be honest with you, other than that, I could have used any shot for nearly all of these. They're all nearly identical, and there really wasn't any other technical issues that I had. In something like this, it's really hard to tell which lens was which, and I highly doubt that many of you picked up on that. Now, obviously, there are going to be other differences between these two lenses as well, and you're probably wondering about simple things like sharpness. How do they differ in the middle and at the corners? So let's take a look at some examples. So both shots right here of this brick wall are wide open, f1.2 and then f1.8. Just looking at it like that, it's probably hard to tell, but if we zoom into the middle, this is at f1.2, this is the same shot at f1.8. So there's a definite difference in terms of sharpness. There's a lot more contrast on f1.2. It's exactly what I would expect to happen. What about the corners? There's your corners at f1.2, corner at f1.8. Neither are great, but if we go up to f8 here on the f1.2 G Master and then f8 here on the f1.8. Firstly, if we look into the middle, at f8 in the middle, it's not as evident when the 50mm f1.8 obviously performs better at higher apertures. Gets a lot closer to the f1.2. There's definitely a bit more contrast there still, but it's definitely closer. How about the corners? This is the corner of the f1.2 G Master, and there's your corner of the f1.8. Again, especially around the edge here, there's a lot more sharpness, but it's, I mean, is it worth $1,750? You tell me. How about this bubbly can? Can you tell which one is which? Should be obvious again. Look at this part of the frame right here. f1.2, f1.8. But what about if we zoom in? What's the difference? Can you tell? I don't know. I'll let you make the decision. The video from earlier kind of gave you an example of what we're looking at in terms of autofocus, because I did have the same settings, as I said, on both of those shots. But if you're wondering about a general, like, how does it look if I'm just talking to the camera kind of thing for autofocus, here's that. Autofocus ability is clearly something you care about, so both cameras are set to exactly the same settings right now. 50mm f1.2, 50mm f1.8 right there. How's it perform? But if I get a bit closer, come back, try and look in the middle so I'm not looking at one lens and not the other. That is how the video autofocus performs for a person just standing in front of the camera and talking like this. How about just a portrait shot? So if I just do a self-portrait of myself, comparatively next to each other, can you tell the difference? Let's take a look. Portrait shot of my ugly mug here. Without telling you which one is which, can you guess? There's a big giveaway because I shot them both wide open. That is the f1.2. f1.2, just there. It's more blurry in the background, and it would be. That's how it works. So, in case you're wondering what the difference between f1.8 and f1.2 is, that's how it is. Interestingly as well, the color is different because the white balance was dialed in, so that can happen between lenses. Another example right here, close up of my eye, another portrait. Nice and crystal clear there. That's at f1.2. That's at f1.8, so it's sharper right in the eye there. Both nailed focus on the eye as well because I had IAF on. Look at the fall off here towards the edge of my eye. Now look at it on the f1.8. So that's a better example of your difference between f1.2 and f1.8. Now, if you were wondering about focus breathing, then I can tell you that the 50mm f1.2, if you have the A7 IV or the FX6 or another camera that has the focus breathing compensation in there, the 50mm f1.2 is going to be better for focus breathing because it's basically not going to have any. The 50mm f1.8 is older, so it doesn't work with the focus breathing compensation. So if that's something you're concerned about and you have one of the newer Sony cameras, then the 50mm f1.2 is probably going to be better for you. Look at the corners. That's where you're going to really see the difference. You should be able to see it just here. Gone again. Try it again. So it's going to add a 0.1 times crop, but if you really don't want that focus breathing, then 50mm f1.2 with the A7 IV or FX6, those are your only options right now. Now, when we look at design and features of these two lenses, that's where this really blows this away in every aspect, literally every aspect. 50mm f1.8, one ring on there, it's a focus ring. It's not the nicest focus ring in the world, probably among one of the worst I've tried. There's no weather sealant on the back. That's it. There's nothing else on there. There's not even an autofocus manual focus switch. Whereas with the 50mm F1.2, you have your autofocus manual focus switch. You have your aperture ring, which has the A on there as well, which means you can turn it to the A and then control the aperture in the camera. It's clicky, so I can control it on the lens. I can also unclick it, so it's declicked, and now it's a smooth turning aperture ring, which is better for video, for smoother changes. It also has one button right there and one button right there, which you can assign to a magnitude of different things, to however you want to use it. So if you want to click and hold it, and now you can control the manual focus ring and you let go and it returns the autofocus, you can do that. If you want to assign the other one to have eye autofocus on, and then you push it again and it turns it off, you can also do that. So this lens brings a huge amount of versatility to it over the 50mm F1.8, and that makes this lens far superior for shooting more professional style work where you need to have those kinds of features built directly onto the lens. It does, of course, have weather sealing on the back there with a nice big gasket, again giving you peace of mind when you're in a professional situation and it starts to rain or snow or something like that. But the caveat with that is this lens weighs a ton more, and it's also a lot bigger in terms of its design. They're both getting you a 50mm look, but you gotta decide which one is for you. And that really sums up this video, if I'm honest. There's some big differences between these lenses, but there's also some situations where you're not really going to be able to tell the difference, and it doesn't matter. I'm not here to tell you which lens to buy. If you have the budget for it, I would buy the 50mm F1.2, but if you don't, there's nothing wrong with 50mm F1.8 to get you going, to get you started, to get your feet wet with a 50mm. Both are great options, depending on how you're going to use it. So thank you for watching today. That's that. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.